People, DG, I'm back again now. At this point, I clearly don't have a life. I seem to just keep making videos now and repeatedly talking with you guys. Big up to everyone in the DG Nation and supporting and subscribing and liking vids and just checking out my content, really. Obviously the season's done and we've spoken about players, we've spoken about who needs to come in, that's gonna come in. You lot know I don't really give a crap about the transfer speculation sort of thing, but I do it for you lot, and it's just humorous and it's talking points, talking about players that are linked and never gonna sign for us. But nobody's spoken about Unai Emery really and truly. Yeah, we've said what he could possibly do, but have we taken the moment to really think about him now? Obviously, maybe not a year exactly, but he's a year into the job. He's gone through the season, and there's a lot of talking points, as you lot know. We don't need to go into the micro, but we do know it's interesting how you probably look at the league on one hand, because on one hand, obviously the 22 on one hand in August, sorry, nobody expected us to win the league, qualify for the top four, myself included. We went on that unbeaten run. Fast forward, we know in the last furlong in the league we messed it up. There are some positives to take away from the season. And people, I share your frustration, I share your anger and all of these sort of things. Yes, and clearly the positives are clearly outweighed by the numerous negatives where we've fallen short defensively and all of these other things, people. But like I said, on one hand there's positives, on the other hand we finished a point. On that same hand, sorry, we finished a point behind Spurs and Chelsea. Spurs, yeah, we got 4 points off them, but over a 38-game period in the league, clearly they will perform better and show more togetherness than us. Chelsea, everybody had everything to say about Chelsea, and who knows what will happen next season with Sarri gone and Hazard leaving and transfer bans and all that other Chelsea speculation. But at the end of the day, they finished third, people. They finished ahead of us, 2 points behind them. So there is some positives. You can think what if and this and that. On the other hand, which is actually what I believe, people, I don't believe in what ifs. Yes, in life there's what ifs and what we could have done. And obviously at the end of the day, people are human, and things happen ultimately, in the sense of you do lose games and things like that. But by the same token, yes, it was a point that we finished behind Spurs, but I don't really believe in that, because there's many points we dropped this season, cheap points where we could have started off better. You lot watch the season, there's a lot to consider. In regards to Unai Emery, I believe he needs to take a moment to first and foremost consider what I've just said, as he would do to a point we can't comprehend. And obviously he's been in the inner works of the squad and seen who can sink, who can swim, and who can do their thing. And it's nice to see him getting away, and I think he was at the Champions League final doing some commercial stuff, and I think he's actually been in America and doing his sort of thing in the off-season, because I think he needs a second to recharge his batteries. Of course, many of these players are not good enough and can't move forward, people. But Emery is human. There's been times more often than not he's got it right last season. There's been times, because of human being, just simply being human, he has probably set us up in wrong ways or just genuinely made mistakes. Because of the role, each role tests you, people. He's probably found a lot out about himself that he doesn't know. And if he isn't, then any manager who isn't within their new role isn't learning. You look at Pep, people think to the outsider, you would think he is obnoxious and he knows everything because of what he did at Barcelona. But City kind of positively humbled him in that you think you know everything about football. He had to rip it up and come with a new system. If you're not constantly learning and evolving, then you're not a true student of the game, and then how can you be a top manager, really? Which I do think he's learned a lot about himself. He's implemented tactics that have worked and which hasn't worked. Maybe certain things that he probably doesn't believe are his principles because of the nature of the game in England or his personnel. He's thinking, should I change them and stuff like that? So he's got a lot to consider, people. I'd like to see Emery first and foremost take a second to look at the whole season and just recharge, because he's got a lot on his plate. Yes, you can look at it and he's technically a head coach. In theory, we should have people that scout players, sign players, and while he gives his recommendation, he just solely deals with the coaching in the framework. But at the end of the day, it falls on his head. Yes, you can look at probably the owner of the club and people behind the scenes, Raul Vinay, but if Arsenal are in poor results, yes, people understand, and clearly we understand Emery's been dealt a bad hand, but the sword falls on him because he's the manager, people. And the Wolves are already coming out for Emery. Next season, there's not going to be the same luxury of your own players and things like that. He's got a lot on his plate to move forward with next season. We know in terms of the tactical front, defensively, set pieces, and being able to, we actually did improve, but we lost our way improving at that, relishing clean sheets, just ultimately improving defensively, and it's mainly off the ball when engaging, trying to win the ball back, and obviously off the ball, because that's what's let us down. Midfielders switching off, defenders not covering in time. And I think what going over people's head is that we need to, I think personally, need to look at these players psychologically now that the season's done. I think some players, we've got to have one-to-one chats with Emery, and I think I'm not qualified to really talk on psychology and stuff, but I do think they should look to get qualified individuals looking into the psychological aspect of things and seeing which players react. And I believe Arsenal already do these sort of tests, so doing that sort of thing, taking the very few positives and moving forward with, like I said, outweighed by 100 negatives. But there's that. Ultimately, we know moving players on, bringing players in any capacity that can move the club forward. A big part of the role was coaching people. Now, again, I have sympathy for Unai Emery because he's got underperforming players, players that try but are just not quite good enough. And if we're led to believe the budget is what the budget is, then he doesn't really have anything to really improve it. But at the same token, people, like I said, there's two sides to everything. I have a lot of sympathy with Emery, but on the other hand, he knew the role he was walking into. He knew how the state of Arsenal on the technical front, in terms of not being able to challenge for titles and all of these things. He knew that landscape, people. He knew there would be no money. He knew coaching in terms of players that are coachable. Like I said, some aren't. Moving forward with that. So ultimately, there's no getting around that. As much as I feel sorry for him, that's a sword he has to die on, people. And when I say this as well, people, I want a left back. I like Kolasinac, people, personally. I think you could use him in the squad. If the right offer comes for any player, everyone's got a price. But I like him, people. I like his roughness. It's a gift and a curse that he's heavy-handed and he gives away cheap fouls. Offensively, he's quite quality. Defensively, he's a liability. Second choice left back for me at this moment in time. If he improves defensively, great. But that's his level for me. So I would like to bring in a left back. But Kolasinac, for example, if money's not coming in and Emery knew the job, he has to coach him. Some players you could deem are uncoachable, but he has to improve him defensively. Obviously, if he doesn't improve, people have already made their opinions up, he has to improve them. Mustafi, my word, if Mustafi can improve, people, Mustafi is Mustafi. If he can improve, then he can. Now, I'm not gonna let that fall at the feet. That one fall at the feet of Unai Emery, people. But you get the point. Whatever people, if we just bring up players that divide opinions, Kolasinac, Xhaka, Mustafi to a degree, Mkhitaryan, who else is there? You've obviously excluded from that, you've got the young G's as well, which if you look at 2-2 with the right back situation, whether you rate him or not, barely got a look in. You look at Joe Willock, for somehow how the centre mids were playing, barely got a look in. Eddie, really, with Welbs' injuries, probably him and Tutu in hindsight, probably the ones you'd think would have got some appearances or more, barely got look-ins. Nelson and the young G's farmed out on loan now. If they've gone out on loan to get experience and play, there's nothing wrong with that, people. But at the same token, it's already shown you that there's a reluctance there. Mavropanos has had injuries, but he hasn't been involved. Coaching is a big thing. We're not... Man United, in theory, they don't seem to be doing it. I know they're going on a homegrown thing just based on rumours, but... they've got the money to do it. City have the money. Liverpool are moving mad nowadays as well. We haven't. The clubs below us have the keys. We ain't got the cash to do that. So coaching, tactically, working with some players that you can beat, and in terms of formations and that, they're big parts of the job, people. Like I said, I got so much sympathy for Unai Emery, but the man knew the role he was getting into. If I go PSG, for example, as a manager, people, I know I have to do well in the Champions League. Yeah, you have to win the league title, but I know I have to do decent in the Champs, or you might lose that role. Now, Tuchel signed a new deal, but it could get gazy for him if he doesn't do a respectable thing in PSG. And we also know it goes beyond tactics. Ironically, I think they need a manager to take them to the next level tactically. But you know there's a lot of politics in the dressing room with star players, with cliques and all of these sort of things. You know the role you're walking into. You know the role with Madrid, people. You know the role in it. No disrespect, I don't know, Aston Villa, for example, I know they ain't got a new manager at the moment, but if I go into there, if they sack their manager tomorrow, I know that if I go into that role, people, I have to keep them up or I might lose my team. Do you get it, people? So as much as I've got sympathy, there's question marks. More question marks than there are over everybody already. Some people cannot improve, people, but there's certain young players and certain players that I might not believe can improve. Emery has to try and get the best out of them because he is a manager of more experience than you or I will ever have. He is the manager and there was no way around it. There is some of these players that we wouldn't fancy in the team, people, he has to try and coach them and get them better if possible, people, because again, coaching and working with resources already at the club in some capacity, whether we deem they're good enough or not, is something that had to have been said at the interview, to be honest with you. So I feel Emery needs to take time to recharge himself. Like I said, he's probably discovered a lot about himself, what he does that goes right, what it goes wrong, and he's gonna have to reinvent himself in this league, because he's probably at times been humbled. He's probably seen at times it won't work. He's probably, for instance, many people will question mark his tinkering. It's a gift because he's on it against the big teams, but against the smaller teams, for instance, we could be tinkering a bit too much. For instance, at the start of the season, we're praising him for his approach and bringing on subs when things aren't going wrong, going quite right for us, and then a change in the day. If you're having to do that week in, week out, it's great. But are you necessarily, as a manager, for as much as I believe these players let him down, are you setting us up in the right way? And like I said, I want to say there's question marks next season, but we're at where we're at. Like, people, it's an open book. Like, we're at where we're at. But yeah, on that note, there's not much more for me to personally say, so I'm going to keep it kicking, people. Deluded, I'm out. In fact, you know what? I just saw some notes. We're not out yet, people. Even if we just look at some of the key players that he's used based on the appearances they've made, obviously some players he's had to use out of necessity, and that's actually a part of the job. You have to use some, because there's no peace here. I'm not asking him to turn them into world beaters. I don't think people are asking that. And if you are, you're watching the wrong channel, people. Not asking for world beaters. Just for example with Kohler, just improve him a bit defensively. Obviously, it's 50% Emery, because I feel he's given a lot of these guys instructions, tactics, and time after time he's let them down. Liverpool away, he set us up very good in my opinion to go out there and play respectably. Players let people down. United away from home last season set us up well. Look at all of the goals we conceded against United that night at Old Trafford in the league. Appalling goals. He can't account for that. But at the same time, he has to try and turn some of these players into competent players. Like, I don't feel Mustafi can improve. I'll hold my hands up, people. It's just my opinion, innit? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I would want Mustafi to improve. It would save us a lot of money if he could improve in some capacity, people. Because at the end of the day, we know how Mustafi has performed. But if you just look at the ages of these centre halves and just the caliber, regardless of their ability, people, he should be the best centre half in this club, and he's arguably the worst within that first team. People, think about it. World Cup winner, played on any club and Germany caps together, people. Kind of right age, what is he, 27? Forgive me if I'm wrong. Around them sort of ages, there he should be the best centre half. In theory, give him credit. He is quite vocal, and you know how Mustafi is. He should, in theory, be the centre half. People should be talking about bringing a centre half to partner with you. That's what it should be. We should be talking about Holding or Saliba coming into the club and playing with you. Obviously, he's not quite cut the mustard, and wages and his contract complicate matters. And he was linked with Inter Milan a couple of years ago. And to be fair, I can't lie, people. I remember looking at the Johnny Evans and Mustafi links maybe 3 years ago. I saw it. Apparently, Arsenal proper on it. I was tweaking. I was thinking, nah, like, that's not really the thing. Not like Evans is competent, but that's not really the thing. I see the angle. Credit where it's due. I see the angle with trying to swap him for Johnny Evans. I see that sort of angle. Terrible signing. No disrespect to Mustafi, but that's just my opinion. Like, he's one of them. I believe you wouldn't play again for me. So that's not me being harsh or having agendas and things like that. I want the best for my club, people, and I don't believe Mustafi is someone that can take the club forward. Like I said, hopefully he can. I always bet on these. I'll always back someone to want to improve and stuff, but I feel Mustafi shown me time again that between not being able to improve, not showing the willingness to learn from mistakes, because we even heard Emery does all this video stuff, and Mustafi was there praising it, saying he watches the vids, he knows where he should be at all times. Where's the improvement? It's still naiveties. Of course, be fair to a man. He hasn't been terrible in every single game he's ever played for Arsenal. There's actually been periods Mustafi's been alright, but more often than not, he's let us down. The ages he's still let us down, so he's not going to improve. So yeah, he's someone that needs to be moved on, but I don't know why we're walloping about that. If we just look at, like I said, some players are used out of necessity, like Mustafi, like others. But if we just look at a quick little browse on players that Unai Emery's used the most, again, whether it was necessity or choice, we can assume next season, because of the money, and we can't wipe our team clear, that these lot will kind of make up his squad. Obviously, Aubameyang made 51 appearances and scoring 31 goals, 8 assists. Xhaka played 40 times. The only time he's not really in the side is from when he's forced to be rested. He had a groin injury and he had a suspension. And you've seen him play, left back, centre half, central midfield, do everything. And he's been a captain. So he's someone that we know there's a lack of mobility. And I feel our midfield get overrun, especially because of Xhaka. He's not rubbish footballer. I think he can be used in the squad, but I just feel you need to be dynamic in today's game, man. Yes, we are covering more ground, but we need to be dynamic, and I feel he's not quite dynamic enough. You can get away with it against the smaller teams, and I just feel he hasn't really got a defensive bone in his body. He's done quite well in incidences, and I actually like Xhaka, to be fair, but it is what it is. Emery's played in 40 times, made 40 appearances, I believe. So he's a key player. Not Xhaka, sorry. Torreira's obviously played 50 times. Guendouzi's played 48. Socrates 40, I believe. Lacazette 40 odd as well. It will be 50 odd. Maitland-Niles obviously did well at fullback, and obviously there was the obvious regulars in the team. But you'd expect that he'd build his team or utilise these same individuals again. If he can marry that with a 1-2, definitely for me, Emil Smith-Rowe, Nelson should be the ones integrated into the team. Like I said, Saka's 18 in September. He should be getting 20 minutes here, league start a cup game here. Just positive encouragement, and he's developing at a scary rate. And obviously, as he matures and shows he's consistent, you play more. I believe Amici the same, but them two would be the ones I'd be saying as well in an offensive sense. Obviously, I'd be open to giving Bielik a chance, but at the same time, people, if we're not going to bring that experienced centre half in, I think we need to, while I want us to improve defensively and things, we need to remember that we're going to have naive partnerships defensively, so there will be times they switch off, not following men, getting split as centre halves, etc. Obviously, Socrates has been around the block with the exception of him, but if you look at Bielik, if you look at Mavropanos, Holding, obviously these sort of guys, I rate them and they play well, but they've not made that many career appearances. Bielik's getting games on loan. He's still a young man. How many professional appearances in England does Mavropanos have for us? Not many. Holding's starting to get regular football in patches, and while he was getting going, he sadly got injured. So there'll be times they do silly stuff. They'll be naive. But if he can just work with them and improve them, and obviously, regardless of age and all of these things, you want to see players making improvements, people. But these are the players in some sort of capacity. Regardless of your opinions on Kola or Mustafi or Knowles or Mkhitaryan, again, I'm not working at the club, but unless they move on, then he's going to have to utilise them in some capacity, people. So that's all I've got to say, really and truly, man. For me, if you can ask me if I could be sitting here in a year's time and saying what I'd like to see improved, just on a technical front, clean sheets, relishing all defensive aspects, having the psychological willpower to deal with these hostile environments, and especially for me, like you saw in the Europa League final, we can have many incidences of where we've conceded one and then it's a quick fire thing. You look at when Rashford terrorised Gabriel, or the many Liverpool games, we're conceding very quick goals. So I need us to be being able to handle that. If we go a goal down, people saying, "Oh, yo, listen, let's calm it down. I know you do all that winger stuff, but let's calm it down. Let's sit in together. Let's go back to basics a bit. Let's calm it down." I don't see enough of that. I'm not saying I don't see players doing all that calming down stuff, but something's not clicking, people. So I'd probably say that, of course, top four, all of these sort of things, but that's what I would like to see. I would just like to simply be able to turn on my TV or go to the Emirates or watch the game with my boys or whatever, win, lose or draw, because Arsenal have no divine right to win anything. I just want to know that my team is going to give 100%. Obviously, you lose games and teams will get spanked 3-0, and they'll be, as an Arsenal fan, I'm being kind saying 3-0. You lot know we've had some canings, but bad things happen, bad games happen. But for me, 9 times out of 10, I just want to know that the application and all of them things were there. I don't think it's there, people. I think there's players that can't handle the pressure, players that underperform, players that simply aren't good enough. There are players we can move forward with as well. It's the players that are underperforming. I do think it's too nice to play for this club to a degree, in the sense of there's not enough personal accountability, because if you look at Patrick Vieira, Thierry Henry, Jens Lehmann, all of Sol Campbell, all of these sort of players, if you just disregard Ashley Cole, I know people won't like me saying that, you disregard Arsenal for a second, all of them are elite winners mental-wise. No one needs to tell them getting top 4 or winning league titles or the implications of these things. That's what Unai Emery should ideally have. It's hard for him because he's got, like I said, he's been given a mad thing, but he has to just, in an ideal world, he's just the army general. He just reiterates stuff. The players should be soldiers. They know they're at war. They know the implications of failure and winning. And he's just someone there to gas them here and there. I don't think we've got soldiers in the trenches. I think we've got, quite frankly, some underperformers. That's the best way I can put it, because obviously I'm trying to be professional. But on that note, I don't think there's any more things to say, people. So I'm going to get out of here. People, deluded. Stay safe. I'm out.